Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It's your boy Kwali, host of Nonstop Playing, and I'm back with another serious topic. Hi, it's been some time, y'all, and I apologize like I did on the last like 5 episodes. But as you know, I got daddy duties and things going on, but surprisingly, the young one came into the world 2 weeks ago, so that was exciting, super exciting to say the least. So, yeah, your boy's feeling pretty good. Sleep deprived, of course, but definitely feeling good. But I'm back with another serious topic. So, as I always do, the last episode we talked about Central Dogma. I had my boy Devanino on, and he, was dropping gems. So if y'all haven't checked it out, check it out. And as you know, your boy out here, he got a couple kids. I need for y'all to subscribe, like, and donate. Throw a little cash your boy away. Look out for your nephews. Because it's plural now. Yeah. So again, I got another serious topic, and I got a special guest with me today. And this guest that I have, I'll let her introduce herself once I'm done. Talking my ish. We met about, I want to say, back in like 2017. 2017, we met. I was working at a nonprofit that worked with at-risk youth in the city back in the hometown, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. As you know, 414 stand up. And we were doing a project with the kids to teach them how to get into film if they were interested in learning how to make short videos, how to do like the background lighting, sounds, things of that nature. So it's pretty dope because, again, these are opportunities that kids sometimes don't get it from our neighborhoods or from the zip codes that we come from. So my guest, when she came out, she did her thing, and we was actually able to make a short film within a couple weeks. It was like maybe 3 or 4 weeks. So it was a quick turnaround, but it was amazing. So I was like, I got to get her on to talk about what she do, which is the film industry. So without further ado, my guest today is Santana. Tell the people about yourself. Let them know who you are, what you do, and some of your aspirations and why you got into film.
That was a loaded question. Yeah, so um, I'm Santana, and I'm a filmmaker here in Milwaukee. I've wanted to be a filmmaker since I was in middle school. I don't really know what prompted me to be a filmmaker, but I've been a lifelong storyteller. I was always into, writing poems, writing stories, writing books, telling stories. There was actually a running joke in my family about how long-winded I am and how detailed my stories are. So whenever I start telling a story, people had to prepare, like, all right, now let's sit down and listen to this story. Because I tell stories the way I like to receive stories. I like details. I like, I'm nosy. I want all the information, so I like to give all the information. Um,
Mhm.
somewhere in middle school, I was like, I want to be a director, and from there, it really festered in me and continued to fester in me. I don't know where that dream came from because honestly, living in a city like Milwaukee, filmmaking is not something that you really know that you can do. It's not one of those things that like you just grow up like, oh, I can do this. But I
Facts.
told myself I could and I kept going. And right after college, college was a really weird time. I'm not going to get into all that, but I really didn't learn much about filmmaking in college outside of the fact that I did a documentary myself, taught myself how to do a documentary, how to edit, how to do all that stuff. Um, while I was in college for a independent studies class. So I actually did my first documentary in college. I can't take all the credit. I did have a boss at the time, Russell Hill, who taught me how to edit and allowed me to use his editing suite after hours, but he taught me and I caught on really fast and kind of did it myself and like asked questions along the way. Um, After school, I basically met someone who knew someone who knew someone, and they introduced me to a guy named Brad Lichtenstein in Milwaukee who had a company called 371 Productions. It was honestly probably the most successful production, like film production company in Milwaukee at the time. So, and still. And so I started working there as an intern. I actually interviewed with him over Skype while I was still in school. And I got the job over Skype. A week after I moved back to Milwaukee, I was working straight out of college. So I got an internship working there on a film called When Claude Got Shot, which was a feature length documentary following a man who was shot in the jaw during an attempted carjacking by a 15-year-old. And it also follows the woman who shot the 15-year-old in self defense as he tried to carjack her. And so we follow those stories for 5 years, and just really talk about or just really show what it looks like to heal from gun violence and the after effects and things like that. I started out as an intern and I worked my way up to co producer, which is usually very unheard of. That's not how things usually work. But We are in Milwaukee, small crews. I was forced to learn fast. I was really enjoying the job and very passionate about it. After becoming the co-producer, I am now the impact campaign advisor, which basically means that now that the film is done and out, I use the film, me and my team of impact people at the league. We use the film to elevate conversations about gun violence. We have a mural now on 10th and North in Milwaukee with Claude's face on it, and it says peace, love, and community. I'm sorry, my dog is like trying to fight me over here. Please leave me alone.
It's all
If you
good.
see my arm doing all this, I'm trying to like get him off me.
Hey, I thought you was trying to
Um,
percolate or something. Like, what's
no,
up?
he's like, he never plays with me like that, but he over here all in my face. Um, so yeah, we have a mural on 10th and North, which is amazing. It's right in the center of the hood, right in the center of the community, and it's really there to again elevate conversations about gun violence, but also let the community know that healing is possible and healing is necessary, and together we can heal. So definitely drive by 10th and North, check that out. We also just won an Emmy for exceptional merit in documentary filmmaking, so we are very very excited about that. And going to the Emmys was just crazy for me. That was just like crazy. That just happened earlier this month, so definitely still fresh. We're doing tons of stuff within our impact campaign. We have a curriculum that we built, so now we're kind of putting it out to schools and organizations and stuff. We're still doing tons of screenings around the community and really just again having conversations about how gun violence doesn't begin or end with a bullet and how we can intervene and prevent gun violence. Outside of that, I have a television series called Black Girl Training, which is a comedy series that I'm putting together with a partner of mine, Emily, who was a transracial adoptee. And the series is based on her life about a woman who comes from a small rural Wisconsin town as a transracial adoptee into the city of Milwaukee. And then she has to learn how to be Black. So it's a play on like what it really means to be Black. We're trying to sell that right now to a studio. So we have a script and we have a Bible, we have all the things we need, and we're just trying to get that sold. And then lastly, I have a short film called The Last Week about Black male incarceration and the effects it has on families. And that is going to be my directorial debut. I wrote that film, I'm producing it, and I'm about to shoot it pretty soon. I've already raised 75% of my budget or so. So I'm going to go ahead and start shooting pretty soon. And then I have some other little stuff in the works and things like that. But those are my three main projects. So I know that was a whirlwind, but that's who I am and that's what I got going on so far.
Listen, I want to give you a shout out because that's super dope winning the Emmy. Like I
Thank
said,
you.
no problem at all. Like you alluded to earlier, the city we come from, it's kind of like we listen to Meek Mill's, Dreams and Nightmare. That's more nightmares than there are like actual good dreams, like lucid dreams in a
Yeah.
sense, right? So the fact that you are one, a black woman, a black young woman, and you're out here doing these big things, and you didn't even, like you said, you went to school for something else, and you kind of stumbled into this role and stumbled into this career. It was something that you like to do as far as your like aspirations in a sense, but at the same time, you like I like to say, you voted on yourself, right? I'm gonna vote on me because if I vote on myself, I know I'm gonna win. So
Yeah.
you took that and you ran with it. So that's amazing. Man, that's crazy. I know when you first started talking about how when Clyde got shot, like when I first met you, and now, went on and winning awards and doing all kind of major things in the city. So that's amazing. I definitely got to tune in because I know you sent me something way back when to donate to something. I donated to it, but I forgot what it was for.
That was probably for Black Girl Training. That was our crowdfunding for Black Girl Training. Yep.
I, yeah, because and that was back in what 20. I was living in Oshkosh at the time when I was working out there, so I remember that. But we definitely, what's going on? Hey, y'all, we out here doing things. We need that money. So
Yeah.
hey, anything counts. It could be $1, it could be $10, it could be $1 million. If you balling like that, you balling. But definitely support this young sister. Get her out here, get her going, because it's real out here. And with that being said, I kind of want to get into like your experiences because like you said, this is something that you're into the arts in a sense, right? Poetry and things of that nature, and now you were in film production. How has that been for you as far as support, being able to be in the room, probably being the only person of color or even black woman in the room? Like talk to us about your experience with that.
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, starting off my career working at 371, Brad, who I talked about, being the one who hired me onto 371 Productions, and he's the director of When Claude Got Shot. Brad is a white man. He's a white Jewish man. He's a great person to have in your corner because he loves to, uplift the women in the city who wants to be in film and also the people of color. So he's a great person to be in your corner, but he's also at the end of the day going to be a white man because he can't help that. And that's who he was born as, right?
Thanks.
So he does an amazing job of hiring additional, of people of color. So luckily at 371, it was a very diverse place. I mostly worked with women. There was several times where it was only women at the company besides him. Um, and so I've kind of had, in a way, a luxury of having kind of a diverse work environment. But I've definitely also felt the burden of being a Black woman in an industry like this and coming up as a filmmaker. Um, I will also say that I remember like when Claude Got Shot, at first had a Black woman producer on it. Her name was Talea, and she was like from Milwaukee, but she moved to LA. And while we were making When Claude Got Shot, she would come back to Milwaukee to like do stuff for us or whatever, and she would also work virtually. But then it got to a point where she quit, and I just was so heartbroken because this was a Black woman producer who I was like looking up to and working very closely with, and I was like, oh my God, where are you going? No, don't leave. And I was really sad when she left. I remember crying, but honestly, her leaving was the way for me to move myself up. So when she left, Brad ended up like promoting me, and then I kept getting promoted to where I was able to become the co-producer. So I basically took her role in a way.
Mhm.
And so although it was very sad, it also was meant to be because it allowed me to move up. Outside of that, every project that I've worked on besides the last week, I have worked on with a production company, a partner, executive producers, things like that. And while that's all great, a lot of times race does play a role in that, and it gets very hard. It gets very complicated. There's a lot of disagreements, there's a lot of misunderstandings, there's a lot of miscommunication going on. So with the last week, this is the first project that the only people that I have on the team so far is myself, and I'm director, producer, writer. And so I'm making all the decisions. I'm raising all the money. I'm doing, whatever I say goes. And I actually really love that right now. I am contemplating adding a production company to the project just so I can have some production insurance and have, a little bit more visibility. But at the end of the day, this project is a passion project. We like to say in a film world that sometimes you have your wife or your husband, and then you have your side chick, side whatever. So when Claude Got Shot has always been like my husband. That's been like, I'm making money, I'm learning things, I have to work with other people. Sometimes it might not be great, whatever. But the last week, that's my side chick. That's pure passion. Ain't no arguing with that. It's just passion, fun, and whatever. And so with that one, I do have a mentor, Paulina Lou, who is amazing, and she's helping me with that project. But overall, I'll say in my career so far, I've had the pleasure of having such diverse mentors, such diverse crew members, such diverse people that I'm working with right now at the league, which where I do the impact for When Claude Got Shot. I work for um, I'm a contractor, so I don't work for anyone, but I work with a Black woman. A Black woman owns that company or that organization. And most of the people that I work with are women, and they're women of color. So I've been very lucky to have such a diverse team in every aspect of my career. But don't get me wrong, I've definitely had some quarrels with people who are not Black, who don't understand, who want to, take over, who want to do. So it's been some stuff now. But overall, I've been very lucky with my career.
I think about the was it the gods of Egypt? How the cast is we talking about Egypt and everybody in there was porcelain skin. I'm like, yeah, this is not a depiction of what it's supposed to be. So
Right.
what are we
Right.
doing here?
And
That's
all
that's
of my
crazy.
stories are Black, so it's hard to have a white person trying to tell you,
How to be black.
yeah, yeah,
It's funny you say that, and I'm not to go on a tangent, but that's been my experience. Because I don't know if you know this, but I'm working on my PhD at a HBCU, right? So my first two experiences were at PWIs, predominantly white institutions, and that's just what it is. Lacrosse, Milwaukee, but moving to Baltimore, going to um, my HBCU or historically Black College University, the two main professors in my program are two white men. One is Jewish, and the other one he's homosexual. So there's a lot of tension there, especially for me being a heterosexual black man. It's like, all right, you say that y'all have these woes and y'all have these experiences, but nothing compares to the black experience. And then I can go down a rabbit hole, but yeah, this is about you today. But no, that's dope. I'm glad that you were, you're able to, kind of maneuver through these fields and things because at the end of the day, you want to make something your own. You're trying to create a brand that's for you. So being able to have these I asked for challenges, but it seems like yeah, they're challenges, but you've turned in a sense water into wine because you've been able to grow and progress as you move up the ranks. So that's amazing. So I want to ask this because this I think this is super important too. Like I've known you, and the audience doesn't know you, but I know that you're a wife. You have you're a mother. So can you kind of talk to us about that experience of being a wife and a mother while also trying to while also wearing all of these hats and being a boss in the game? Yeah, tell us how do you like manage all that? How do you balance all that out? Because I'm sure it's a lot to take on.
Yeah, it is a lot. And honestly, at the beginning of my marriage, I remember because me and my husband have been together 15 years, half of our life.
Hmm.
And we've only broken up twice, and it's only been like once for a year, once for 6 months, and nothing really like, came about those times. Like I never was really able to date. I never really had any experience just like dating around. Like I've had a little bit, but not much. And so once we finally got married, we had our child when I was 22, he was 21. We got married when I was 25, he was 24. Yeah. And I remember thinking like, dang, I'm 25 and I'm married with a kid. Like I'm so young. Like I don't even and I always thought of myself as a hybrid woman. So I always felt like I was a little bit old school, but also a little bit new school, right? So like I do believe in certain gender roles. I do believe in the fact that I'm supposed to, even if I'm working, I feel like I'm supposed to cook and clean more. I'm supposed to take care of the household more. And that really that really messed me up at the beginning of our marriage, because I was really going through like a midlife crisis. Or a quarter life crisis. I was really going through like, who am I? What am I doing? Like, I just felt like I was so young and so not necessarily tied down, but just like I was just taking care of everybody at this young age. And in your 20s, you really don't. I feel like the world has really changed our perception of what 20s are supposed to be. People think they already supposed to have it together, be successful, be rich by 20, and have a family, be married, all that type of stuff. And that's cool if that's what you aspire to do. But honestly, your 20s are meant for you to be figuring it out. Like it's not really meant for, in my mind, it's not really meant for you to be like married with kids and tied down and just so strict and like strict. You know what I mean? Like college is cool, but all that stuff you do in college, partying, figuring it out, making mistakes, are supposed to go into your 20s too. Your 20s are meant for you to continue to do all that stuff. And so I was really hard on myself about like a lot of things, and I just kind of went through this crisis. And luckily my husband is so amazing. He allowed me to go through that. He allowed me to be honest about what I was going through, and he really helped me see that like you do not have to do it by yourself. Like you don't have to do all these things you think you have to do. You don't have to cook all the time. You don't have to clean all the time. You don't have to, and we really started to kind of figure out what our marriage meant for us and not what marriage means for society or not what people tell us. So now I'm happy to say that I do still do most of the cooking and cleaning, but I will be very quick to be like, look, I'm tired of cleaning around here. Everybody get up and clean, and they will get their butt up and clean,
Facts.
And and my husband, we both work. Our son goes to school, and we both contribute in different ways. Financially, we both contribute in different ways to the household. We both contribute in different ways to him. And again, I just had to get out of my mind, out of what I thought I was supposed to be as a wife, and just be more true to who I wanted to be as a wife and what was going to work for me. And again, luckily he was just amazing as a partner to like understand that and be okay with that. And so to this day, marriage is always going to be a work, it's always going to be something that you have to work towards. I'm not the best with balancing my work and home life, but I'm still learning. I'm a true introvert. I'm an extroverted introvert. So I know how to work a room. I know how to network. I know how to do all that stuff. But in order for me to replenish myself, I like to be alone. And that means closing myself in my room, kicking everybody out the house, whatever that means. I like to be alone a lot of times. And so we're still working through that as well. Him learning like how to just leave me alone and not take it personal, not take it like I don't want to be with you. I just need a
Me
few hours
time.
to myself. You know what I'm saying? So it's a lot to it, but again, I think we're continuously working at it, and he's so understanding about it all. And as you continue to grow when you're married, you continue to learn each other, and you have to always be learning each other. So, but I will say my husband and my son are literally my biggest supporters. Like I know people say that, but like dead but because can't say dead A, but they are like my biggest supporters. My son, literally, I took him to a Harvest Fest yesterday. He was on this ride. He randomly told the guy operating the ride, like, hey, my mom has an Emmy. How that conversation came up, I don't know. I don't know. He just ran in the 3 seconds it took for him to get onto this ride. He randomly told this man this, and the man came up to me and said, you got an Emmy for what? Like, just my son knows all my websites. He will just randomly tell people, like, listen, go to santanathecreator.com to find out more. Like, he is a walking billboard for me. My
Hey,
husband
that's
is
what's
the
up.
same way. Yes, he my husband is the same way. He finds some way to like brag on me or talk about me in different conversations. And because my husband is now in the art film field and doing photography and videography, we run in a lot of the same circles now. So we always bigging each other up and including each other in our conversations. So, it's again, it's work, but it's lovely.
I appreciate that. That's super dope. And it's funny because I'm like, you gotta put him on a payroll now because he's he's your advertisementist or whatever the term is for he's your
Tell me
marketer.
about it. Yes.
And you said
Yes.
and your son, he's 8, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's hey, he had a good age. Put him on the payroll. Get him that
Oh God.
SEP. Get him on there. He be all good. That's what's up. That's interesting
Yeah.
because I got an episode that talks about like men and dating and things of that nature. And of course, you see social media where it's always a conversation of modern versus traditional, and especially when we talk about the black community and black women, how
Yeah.
there's a lot of trauma and there's a lot of um, like from an early age they're taught that you have to be independent. So with being independent, that creates another barrier because it's like, oh, I'm with this person, I love you, I need you, but at the same time, I don't need you. So then that causes like some barriers in a sense. So it's interesting that you say that it was kind of a struggle, but you're learning, you're growing through it. And 15 years is a long, long, long time. A lot of people don't make it past 6 months, so y'all doing something right on y'all end. So I can appreciate that. But I kind of want to kind of shift a little bit, get back into the film. So you got a lot of projects going on right now. You won an Emmy. So what would you say is something that, if t- where you are now, 10 years ago, if you could do it all over again, how would you approach the game? How would you do things differently, or would you do everything the same way you did as far as, getting into the field and, getting to where you are, um, your transgressions in a sense. How would you go about, you know, doing
Yeah.
what you're doing currently?
Honestly, I'm not a person that lives with regrets. I'm very much so a person who believes that everything happens for a reason. I had a lot of things in my life that I was like, ooh, if I could. So, for instance, like when you talked about HBCUs and PWIs, I always said, like, man, I really wish I would have went to a HBCU. I went to UW Platteville. And just to correct something you said earlier, it's not that I studied something different. It's that I went to the school that did not have a filmmaking major. Like it was a lot of stuff going on around that time. But for some reason, I went to this school that did not specialize or even prioritize what I wanted to do in life. But I went here and eventually I was able to move up. Like I started as a theater major. I was like, this ain't quite what I wanted to do. Went to communications. This ain't really filmmaking. And then eventually they did get a media studies program and they did get a film studies minor. So that's what I graduated with. It still was not what I wanted to do. I still did not learn what I wanted to learn, but I got as close as possible. I always say like I wish I would have went to a HBCU, and in some ways I do, but in other ways, again, I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. If I would have went to a HBCU, my life would have been completely different. At the time that we were about to go to college, me and my husband were broken up. That was the sixth. No, that was the year that we had broken up. We were juniors, seniors in high school, and we both went to the same college. Had I decided to go to HBCU, we would have never got back together, and I would have went to a HBCU. I love me some black men, honey. Let me just say, I love black men. Okay, I'd have got there and saw all that chocolate. I'd have been a baby mama. right now. I'm just saying, okay? Like my little young buck wouldn't have knew what to do because I never got to date like that. Like I said, so I'd have went to college and been young and dumb. Okay.
But and it's crazy is I know you went to wait, you say you went to Platteville, right?
Yeah.
The difference between like I know Whitewater, they got their Greek life, and you
Yeah.
know Parkside got a little bit of Greek life, but listen.
Platteville is a different beast. They had one black sorority they had one black sorority for a very tiny amount of time and only like 3 girls crossed. And
Mm,
then when they left, it was over. And they had one black fraternity, which is the one that my husband was a part of, Delta
gotcha.
Psi Chi. So yeah, anyway, it just would have been completely different. So I say all that to say that that was one of my regrets in a sense. However, I also know that I don't live with regrets. I would not change anything because changing one thing would have had the butterfly effect, the domino effect. It would have changed everything, and I wouldn't be here today. And I never in a million years, I never cared about awards. So I never aspired to win Emmys. I never aspired to win big award. I didn't never care about that stuff. And I never saw myself, like I never even thought of it. And so to win an Emmy for my first film right out of college is insane. And going if Platteville is what helped me get on that journey, I wouldn't change a thing.
That's dope. That's definitely dope. The only it's funny because you know for me, I didn't get introduced to like HBCUs until I want to say my junior year of college. I went to lacrosse for undergrad, and we went on this thing called a Freedom Ride, and we had went down to like Tennessee, Alabama, went to different like colleges in the area, learned about the Freedom Riders and things of that nature, and met a lot of people who marched with Dr. King during that time when you know they were trying to fight for equality and things of that nature. So it was pretty dope, and from that time I was like, I gotta go to HBCU. Now here's the caveat to that, right? Because a lot of people don't think about this, and I'm gonna have an episode down the line that talks about HBCUs, right? Because I got a homeboy, he live in Florida now, but we work together at the same university. We said we got to do an episode on like just HBCUs overall. Don't believe the hype, because HBCUs they dope. Don't get me wrong. I love me some fried chicken Wednesdays. You know, I love probates. I like the fact of smelling shea butter and all that stuff. You know, the do rags, wave checks. It's cool, but don't get me wrong. It is ratchet at times. It do get
Yeah.
really ratchet. So you got to have a different type of skin, and especially depending on like I was on the East Coast, so a lot of the people I was around, like New York, Jersey, Philly, they got a little edge to them. So if you coming from an area where you're a Poindexter, you might get sought out. So you got to be on your
Wait,
P's and
so
Q's.
after junior year, did you transfer to HBCU?
No, I graduated. So I graduated from lacrosse. I moved down to Georgia, started working at Savannah State. So Savannah State is another HBCU in Savannah. So I was there coaching football, doing my training and stuff like that in the fitness world. Moved back to Wisconsin with my son and his mother. Went to grad school, UW Milwaukee. After I finished there, moved to Oshkosh, started working there, and then applied to grad school again. And then I started my PhD at Morgan State. So I've been kind of all over the place. But when I was coaching, I was trying to get back into HBCU. So I've been to probably I want to say about 12, maybe 15 HBCU so far, just being in that area, Norfolk State, Hampton, Howard,
Oh,
Coppin
that's
State, Fayetteville State, A&T, uh, Texas Southern. That's where, Meg the Stallion, that's where she went to school, Texas Southern.
yeah.
Um, where else? Paul Quinn, which is in Dallas. So I don't been around as far as going to different schools. My goal is, it's 107 on paper, but there's only 104, maybe 103 that are active currently. My plan is to go to at least all of them, like get a shirt or something, just to be able to contribute
Oh,
and
just
make
to
it.
visit, you mean though?
Oh,
Okay.
not no, no, not work or anything like that. No,
Okay.
just a visit tip. So
That's so
that's
dope.
it. But HBCUs, like I'm a huge advocate for them. The goal is to work, be president at someday. If it works out, if it don't, it's cool. I'm still gonna contribute. I got two sons. I'm gonna pump it in their brain. If they don't want to go, that's cool. I'm like, y'all got to pay for your own schooling though. If you go to HBCU, I'll pay for it, but I ain't paying for you to go nowhere else.
See,
So
that's
that's
another conversation we gotta have. I know. But we gotta have that conversation
I
because I
got you.
don't know if I want my son to go to HBCU, but there's the pros and cons of it now. And
Oh
when you
yeah, for
talk
sure.
more about it, it makes me jealous. I'm like, oh, I really wish I would have went. But again, there were pros that I did not see at the time to PWI. So
No, definitely. But I say you can get the full experience just by going to a homecoming. And at some point, if you can go to a homecoming or if you can go to like a sporting event, like it's so much love in the room. Can we talk? The national anthem by Tevin Campbell. They gonna play that. It's just a whole vibe. And again, I'm speaking to it because I've done it, and I encourage people to get that experience. But again, the episode is about you. we gonna keep it on film, but we definitely had that conversation about HBCUs. Whenever you're ready, we can talk about it. I'm connected in some areas. You just gotta let me know what you're trying to do. But what we'll do is we'll take a quick commercial break. For those, like I said, subscribers, the audience, if you haven't already, I'm on all platforms: Apple, Google Podcasts, Anchor. I'm on YouTube. I'm on iHeartRadio. So if you haven't already, like, follow, subscribe, donate, help your boy out. But we'll be back probably in the next like minute or so. Just got to get us some water or something, because we've been talking a little bit. So we'll be back and then we'll finish up the episode. All right, great people. We had to get a little drink of water, had to get our mind right because we were talking about a lot of serious stuff. So without further ado, we back. And again, I gotta keep stressing this, people, because it's super important. I need for y'all to support. So like, subscribe, follow, donate. If you want to donate, you can go to anchor.fm/. Stop playing. Stop playing is STOPPLAYN. So no IN, no ING, but play in. Okay. So that's how we're gonna do it. But again, like I said, I got my special guest Santana in the building, filmmaker extraordinaire, doing big things. Won an Emmy already, young out here, youngest in charge. So she's, telling y'all about her experience thus far with being in film, being a Black woman, being a mother, being a wife. So I guess for me, one of the biggest things I wanted to ask you is what advice would you give to an inspiring filmmaker who comes from an area where their school might not have their major, or they might not have the the network right away, but want to get involved and want to get some skin in the game? What advice would you give them to help them to overcome some of those obstacles?
Yeah. Everybody's journey is different. So I would say if you come from a smaller city that doesn't feel like it has a filmmaking community, like Milwaukee felt at the time, I didn't know we had a filmmaking community. So your city might have a filmmaking community. So number one is network. Network, network, network. If you have a film festival in your city, you likely have some type of film network. So go to the film festival, talk to people, introduce yourself, don't be shy, go to all the talkbacks, get around, make people know your face and your name, make some business cards, actually collect business cards. It's good to have some, of course, but people usually don't follow up when they get your business card. But if you are the one that wants to be in this field, you got to do the work. So collect business cards, go home. You could even I used to create like a Google Doc that had everybody's name, picture, where I met them at, a little bit about what I remember about them, their contact information, and that will help me be able to go back and contact them in the future or whatever. And then just stay in touch with those people. Email them, introduce yourself, let them know what you're working on or what you want to work on, that you're looking to volunteer or work or PA or whatever it is you want to do. Continue to follow up with them. When you see they have accomplishments, email them. Hey, I saw you got this. Congratulations. Just stay on people. Make sure they remember you. That's the biggest thing. From there, your career is going to do what it's going to do, and just trust the process. If at the end of the day, if you really feel like you are unhappy in your city and you're unhappy with the filmmaking community there, then go ahead and move. I would not recommend just trying to move to LA or New York just to chase that dream. But again, everybody's journey is different. Maybe it will work out for you. But for me, I got some of the biggest advice of my career, which was don't try to be a small fish in a big city like LA or New York. Focus on being a big fish in a small city, which is what I'm doing in Milwaukee right now, trying to be a big fish here. And once I'm a big fish here, I'll at least have some contacts in other cities to be able to move. And well, I already have contacts in other cities and I can move and have another job easily. So, network, that's the biggest thing.
Network. And I allude to this all the time, people. It's not your net worth, it's your network. You got to get,
Who you
you're gonna make your money at some point, but you got to have some of those pillars out there that's gonna help pull you along. So
know.
keep that in mind. If you
Yeah,
win the
because
Emmys.
I didn't really learn much about filmmaking in college at all. but I learned everything because of who I knew. So when I found someone that I knew and they hired me, I learned everything right there from doing the work. So it doesn't matter if you didn't go to school for it or whatever. You could teach yourself, you could get on YouTube, you can network, get jobs and learn on the spot.
YouTube University, one of the best universities that you ain't got to pay for.
Mhm.
Cool, cool. Well, I think for me, one of the things that's like resonated in my mind throughout this conversation is like what's next for you, because you're doing a lot of things and you have a lot of projects that are out there, but what's the end goal? What do you like, where do you see yourself in the next like 10 to 15, maybe even 5 years, 5, 10, 15 years? What do you see yourself? What is Santana going to be doing, or what would be the ideal scenario for you in terms of all the work that you're putting in currently?
So had you asked me that question about a year ago, I probably would have had an answer for you because I've always been the type of person that plans out my life. I always kind of had at least a few years of a plan, you know. However, this year I've really learned this has been an amazing year. I've accomplished so much this year that I never thought I would. This year I've just learned to trust God and let him lead me. And so I've kind of not been thinking about the next 5 to 10 years. In the next 5 to 10 years, where I see myself as being happy and successful. That's all I can tell you. As far as what exactly I'll be doing in film, there's a billion different things you can do in film. And I always thought I wanted to be a director. I still do want to be a director, but I also have fallen in love with producing in the meantime. I've fallen in love with impact in the meantime. I've fallen in love with teaching film to high schoolers in the meantime, at risk youth. So you know, I have many different talents that I've realized, and there's many different fields in the film industry I haven't been able to explore yet. So at this point, I don't really have an exact plan besides being happy, healthy, and rich, hopefully happy, wealthy, rich, and successful. But how I get there and what I do for my everyday job, as long as I love it and it's in the film industry, I don't know what it'll be yet. I'm just letting God kind of tell me what's next.
All right, I appreciate that answer because I'm a planner myself. I tell people all the time, I know I've already planned my funeral. That sounds kind of weird, but
I have to.
I like this how I'm gonna be. This what I'm gonna be wearing. You know, this gonna sing, Anthony Hamilton gonna sing at the funeral. It's gonna be dope, right?
Okay, I ain't
Um,
planning it that much, but okay.
but I know how sometimes it can, like, I'm not religious or anything, and I don't subscribe to any
Yeah,
kind of like doctrine, but like they say, if you want to hear God laugh, tell him what your plan is, right?
I was just gonna tell you that.
And I'm starting to, because even with me now, like I've been in education for 10 years, and I just recently over the last year I've been working in like the medical field and like tech field, doing like stuff like that. And then I, started my own business. Well, I started my own business a while ago, but really dug deep and started doing more things, networking with people. So I'm like, man, I'm a jack of all trades, but I'm like, I've mastered some, but I think I need to find like what my actual niche is so I can like really expand on that so I can be good. So it's real out here. So I can appreciate that answer because that's the most like mature answer in a sense, because at the end of the day, you don't know. Tomorrow this could happen. So you gotta, just be like, all right, I'm gonna focus on what I can control and keep building off of that. So that's
Yeah.
super dope.
I'm also not religious. I'm spiritual and I'm God's favorite. So I know that he gonna continue to bless me and do crazy. Like when he gave me that Emmy, I was like, you are showing out right now. Like you are going crazy. You can't be letting everybody know I'm your favorite like that. You know they start attacking when they see you got a favorite, you know. But overall, I know that like my career has had ups and downs. That's what it is in the film industry. It's a very unstable career, but luckily I have other talents, and my husband has always said he was jealous of me because I had one dream, one goal, which was filmmaking, and I chased that. And he always had multiple things he was good at, multiple things he wanted to do, and just never really had a one path way. But now I told him I'm jealous of him now because now he could do several different jobs and be successful at it and be good at it and make several different incomes. Um, and not have to rely on one thing. Whereas me, I get anxious worrying about what's next sometimes. And that's kind of why I've decided to relinquish control and just be like, whatever's next, God got me. And you know, that's where I'm at with it.
I had a question about that. So you said that you want to open up to multiple streams and you don't want to just be kind of finite to one thing. So what are some other things that you're looking to do? I know you got the film, you got the training. And you mentioned there was something. You said a lot of things in the beginning, and I'm trying to, you know, relate all that stuff. But outside of those 3 or 4 things that you mentioned earlier, what is some other ways that you're getting involved and, expounding on yourself and, some of the skills that you do have?
Yeah, so outside of the projects I'm working on, I do also teach filmmaking to high risk youth at a program, and I'm really enjoying that right now. I That gives me some pretty good money, and so I'm actually in the process of creating a curriculum that's going to be longer that I could go out and pitch to schools and organizations. And so I'm hoping that if things start to slow down with film again, and I can kind of fall back on that. I also used to work with autistic children. That was a passion of mine. So in the future, I could definitely see that coming back around. Not necessarily what I was doing, which was behavioral therapy, but more on the maybe even intersecting autistic children or kids on the spectrum with filmmaking in some way. So maybe that's something that's going to happen in the future. I want to own some clubs with my husband because that's something he wanted to do, and I have great ideas. So I'm like, include me. I want a coffee shop. We've talked about doing a restaurant before. So it's a lot of different things that I want to create a Black Wall Street in Milwaukee. That's one of
Mm,
my really big goals. I already have the area, but I see that they're already starting to renovate that area. So I'm like, hate y'all. But that's okay because when I get rich, I'm gonna come back. I'm
by
gonna
the
find
block.
the area and I'm gonna build it up. And it's gonna be all Black businesses that I invest in and like maybe partially own, but it's mostly for the community to get their business ideas off and own some stuff in Milwaukee. So yeah, I got a lot of different stuff I want to do right now. It's only I do freelance filmmaking, so I make a little money from that. If there's anything freelance, like productions are coming here to town and they need a producer, then they can hire me for a week and pay me a certain thing. I also do impact work, which is my full-time job right now, and then I teach the kids, which is a part-time job. But my full-time job is contractor, so I work when I want. So I do have a lot of time on my hands to be able to, if I want to lift, I can do that for extra money. If I, there's other ways to, there's time and other ways to make money right now. But I'm enjoying not having to, I always say work smarter, not harder. I'm enjoying having to not work hard right now, but just work smart and still be happy.
Hmm.
So
So from what I'm hearing is, I know because you alluded to this when we talked earlier. You got your own podcast, so I'm assuming that's gonna get back up and rolling, and you're gonna start getting some more content out there for your listeners.
yeah,
All right,
I'm gonna come back now.
all right, all right, all right. I'm gonna hold you to that. Some
I'm gonna
accountability.
come back.
All right,
I
all
like
right.
accountability partners, so hold me accountable, and I'm gonna be like, if he got all these episodes, I could do it. So I'm gonna get back out there.
Oh, definitely. I'm gonna check in. I'm like, yo, where that next episode? We looking for it. Where we at? Where we at? Bring your
Yeah,
boy
go
on.
listen to the speaking of, y'all go listen to the podcast. It's called Listen dot dot dot. And if you type it in on like Apple Podcasts or something, put listen dot 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 Santana and it'll be the first one that pops up. But the podcast is just called Listen. Um Go check it out. Go listen to it. It's dope if I do say so myself. So
Okay. So you want to give them like a preview of the content, or you just gonna let their minds wander?
I don't know. I'll be talking about all type of stuff. I'll talk about relationships. I'll talk about career. I'll talk about family stuff because I've had a lot of family issues and things. So I'll talk a lot about the things I've learned overcoming. Having to cut off all my siblings and just what that was like. So I just talk. I talk about the things that I've learned, but then I also just dive deep into some of the pop culture things that's out there in the media. So, different stuff that's going on with celebrities that everybody got an opinion on. I tune in to give my opinion. I want to get into some debates, like you said. Like, I love different conversations with men and women, and just women in general learning about their experiences, men in general learning about their experiences. So, I'm definitely super interested to get some guests on the podcast pretty soon. So, I'll be calling you.
Hey, I'm with it. I'm always down to have a conversation, some healthy
Yes,
dialogue.
yes.
Well, I think we pretty good on that end. I think based on what you've shared already, you got an amazing journey that you've been on, and you got a great supporting cast behind you. I might have to hire your son because I need some publicity myself. So my son, he just want to talk about Minecraft. He don't care about none of that other stuff. So yeah, but I needs me an agent.
Yeah.
So, but without further ado, let the audience know how they can find you. I'll also put the links in the bio, any tags that you have, but let them know where they can find you, and if they want to set up some consultations or anything, how do they find you, Santana?
So the easiest way to find me is my website, santanathecreator.com. That will link you to all my projects, to their individual websites. It'll lead you to my podcast, listen, tell you about me, what I got going on. I do need to update it now that I don't want an Emmy, but it got everything on there that you would need to know. It got my social medias. You could also find me on Instagram at Santana the Creator, or Facebook, Santana Wilson Coleman, my whole government right there.
Yes.
Yeah, so but both basically go to the website, santanathecreator.com, and you'll find me there.
Cool, cool. Well, I want to appreciate you. I know it's probably been what 3, 4 years since we spoke. It's been a minute.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in a
actually,
minute.
since I was in Oshkosh, where I was like, for me, I'm like, let me get some more content out here, but I want to get more women on because again, like I'm supportive, well, especially for Black women. I'm a huge supporter of Black women, whatever they're doing, as long as it's positive and it's creating. And if it's love of hip hop, I'm not doing it. You can't come over here and talk to me about nothing. Okay, I just
I
got to put
love
that out
love
there.
and hip hop. That's my guilty pleasure. Now, when I start working on, so if I start working on reality TV, you saying I can't come back?
But I know you personally. Some of these people is like, all right, come on now. Like if you are like if you exploiting yourself, like Mimi Frost, like come on sis,
Oh
like
yeah,
that
yeah,
check.
yeah. I don't want to be on the reality show. I want to work
Yeah,
behind the
yeah. If you
scenes.
work behind the scenes,
Yeah,
that because that's the tea right there. I'm like, is this really real? Nah, it's just a script, But like stuff like that, I'm like, come on, y'all. We already got a bad like we trying to build Black Wall Streets out here, so we got to do more than just
yeah.
exploit ourselves to people that don't care about us. So it's real. Um, but yeah, no, I definitely I want to get on the podcast, and I might have to get you on for. I want to do some panels moving forward. With some people in different areas. I got one that I'm planning specifically about a topic we talked about earlier, but I'm gonna leave that for the audience to wander a little bit. But again, I want to thank you for coming on. I know it's been a while. I'm glad to hear that everything's going well, and you're doing some great things out here, especially in the community. I've thought about home a few times in the last like month or so I'm like, man, I need to get back and get my fix real quick, and maybe
Yeah.
go to Miss Pepper Pot because I ain't had no good jerk egg rolls, and man, it's been about 10 years. So,
Yeah, my sister-in-law and my mother-in-law work there. I was just there the
oh,
other
for
day.
real?
Yeah.
I gotta
We
go.
got some dope stuff in Milwaukee now. Like they really are building some amazing stuff here. So come check it out for sure. Come
That's
back
the
home.
plan. That's the plan. Probably this summer. The summer will probably be the earliest once I get all this other stuff taken care of. So definitely some be out that way. But again, thank you for coming through.
Thank
Subscribers,
you for having me.
check. Oh, for sure, for sure. Y'all check her out, Santana the Creator. Donate to the project she got going on. It's real out here. And if you need any advice, and I'm sure it's not just for Black women, if a person of color, or if you just anybody, she's a genuine person. She's willing to give
Yeah.
information, give knowledge. And that's what we do out here. The game is to be told, not to be sold. I'm a huge advocate for that because at the end of the day, you gonna want an opportunity too. So, it's better to
Mhm.
reach back and to try to, you know, cut yourself off from the world. But with that being said, it's the Nonstop Playing Podcast. Your boy Kwali, and that was another serious topic. And I'll be back again. Just wait on it.